to my co-creator, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, co-creator, editor.
And I'm located in Gary, Indiana. Lindsay, where are you? Where in the world are you right now?
I am in Los Angeles, California.
How is it sunny now and not fiery? Are you guys doing okay?
It's raining.
Is it raining? Really?
Yeah, we got rain, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the 3 days a year.
We're getting quite a snowstorm here. I know we got some folks coming in from Texas and some other areas too. I had a couple sign up from Colorado as well, so we're getting expanse. All right, I see Miley's back in. I think we got everybody.
Yes, I can't see anybody.
Oh, well, that's a bummer.
It's okay. I look better that way, Miley.
We'll share the recording online. You can see what you missed later, but we appreciate you being here. Okay, so then I'm gonna volley it next over to Trisha, one of our leads in the ensemble.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I played Kit, and I am in Calabasas, California, LA.
All right, and then next I got Miley.
Hey, I'm from LA. It's raining.
Yeah.
No fires.
Yeah.
So we're happy for the rain, and I can't see anybody. So if you're waving, I can't respond, but hi.
And then we've got Erin.
Hi, I'm also Los Angeles, and I was in the scene with Patrick Seitz, and I had very different hair.
You did.
Years ago.
I like the pink lowlights though. Those are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cute hair.
And then Ricky, I don't know, is he still in here? Did he pop in and pop out?
You guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Ricky. I played the audio engineer. Got beat up by Ben Diskin in there a little bit. And I'm in Corona, which isn't far from LA, and it's also raining here.
That's right. And then I know Wendy, she sends her well wishes. She's just traveling with the Cowboy Bebop band and doing fun, fabulous stuff everybody's working professionals. So they're all super busy, but they send their regards. So I appreciate everyone who was able to make it tonight. This film was shot in 2010, which was back.
Wait, you gotta introduce Michelle.
Oh yeah, Michelle. She's technically not on this one, but she is a member of Almost Fairy Tales.
No, I was not. I have been on other adventures with the Fairy Tales folks.
Mm-hmm.
But I anticipated watching this ever since I saw. Oh, I made the postcard.
Yes, that's right. You did design the print work. That's right.
So it was super cute. I'm in Muncie, Indiana, and it is freezing rain here.
Ooh, see, I would take the snow over the freezing rain.
Yeah.
We got about 5 inches today, so it's deciding to, for real, snow now, because it's winter, February. I swore I missed seasons when I moved back to the Midwest, so I got what I requested. All right, so we shot this film in 2010, and then post took a bit, and as passion projects sometimes do. But during the pandemic, I gave Lindsay a holler and said, "Hey, let's finish this. We got time. We're at home. Why not?" And then once we were allowed to come out of houses and stuff, we put it into a bunch of festivals, and it got accepted to quite a few and won a couple awards. And so it was really nice to be able to see it launch into the world. My first experience back in the theaters was actually seeing this on the big screen, so that was pretty awesome. And a really cool festival, if you guys are ever looking for a good festival to enroll in, Reading Film Festivals, you can get into it. They treat their filmmakers very nicely there. They're just a couple hours from New York, so they get a good cross-section of folks. So with that being said, I think we've introduced everyone. Do we have any questions from the audience, or I can go into some questions that were submitted beforehand? And you can turn off your mic or turn on your mic and ask a question if you like.
So, if I may ask, this is Cameron, by the way.
Hi, Cameron.
Hello. What was the general idea of this? Like, what started this for this project? I mean, what was the main idea?
Lindsay, you want?
Oh, okay, I'll take it. Jesse and I were out for one of our daily walks at the job we used to work at, and we just started, I don't know, joking around about what would happen if the voice actors got very, very serious and into character and lived in their characters all the time. And just this ridiculous, silly premise. It was just kind of a joke. And then from there, I think Jesse went home and wrote it.
And I think it started out with something. So we both happened to work in anime, and something we noticed was sometimes on the characters resembled the voice actors, which was weird because it's cartoons, and that is an odd thing when it happens. And our lead in this, Ben, happened to look a lot like a character he played on a very popular anime. And he also happened to be a martial artist, and we're like, his character happened to wear a very ridiculous outfit, and he was a good sport, and we were like, do you think that we could get Ben to wear that? And then we wrote something ridiculous around it, so. And he's a complete pro and was down for it and ran around Chinatown in it, so. All right. Any other? And so it's called Method of Voice Actor Prepares, which is a pun on a very famous philosophy of acting. Is everyone familiar with method acting? It's when you become the character, like really become them. Yeah, from like the beginning. So has anyone ever in the cast been method for any project? Has anyone done that?
No.
Not really? No. Not for any of your voice acting?
I play a lot of villains. I feel like real, like just go kill some cats or something.
Right.
That would be like method.
Well, what were you saying, Ricky?
No, I was just saying it can get gnarly because, you know, you're living that, whatever your character is. They're an alcoholic, so you become an alcoholic, you know, or you know, just, it's too much.
Yeah, too much.
It's a lot of work.
Well, I think when Lindsay and I were joking about it, we were like, what did Christian Bale do during American Psycho if he's like a method actor?
He's not very nice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Probably not.
No, he wasn't. I mean, I think if you phone it in, it's not. I mean, method is one way of saying it, and those were people like what's his name, weirdo guy. Is it Jared Leto?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
It sent a severed pig's head or something.
Yeah.
I just don't get that. But I mean, if you don't like draw on some emotions, you know, from an experience that you've had, especially in the dramatic things, you know, that is method, but it's not like living out of character, you know, living the character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I think if you don't draw on emotions when you draw them on camera or with voice or whatever, like then it seems like it's phoning it in to me. And I could tell you millions of performances I've seen where people feel like they phoned it, or terrible actors phone it in. But going so far as the Jared Leto thing is just gross. And I think that's what people think of method acting. But there's a version of it, and then there's sort of a different version of it. You know?
Yeah, there's like what it actually is, and then kind of what the perception is, and that's too far. Yeah.
But I mean, there are people that do go there, and most of them. I mean, I don't know. Some of them are good actors, and some aren't.
Okay, so then, do we have any other questions from the audience?
I want to know whose apartment you guys used for filming it, because it's not one that I recognize.
Oh, then we did a good job hiding it because that was mine.
Yeah.
But we stripped it down to all white. So, and that is actually a nod to method acting because we kind of are making fun of the beginning of American Psycho in that opener. So it's like a little nod and wink to it. Yeah. Ben's like, you wanted me to do what? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, okay. So.
Yeah, to repaint it.
Yeah, I happen to have a question.
Yeah.
I watched this recently, and I literally just couldn't hold in my laughter. Like,
Oh, good.
It was too hard. Like, when I was watching it the first time, I was like, there's no way. Like, that's got to be that thespian or whatever. And then, because I ended up meeting him at a con last year, remembered his face, and I was like, no way. What ultimately made you decide to go with Ben, like, literally losing control of themselves entirely?
Have you met? You've met Ben, right?
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's so
Perfect answer.
quiet and unassuming in real life, and he's been an actor since he was a baby, I think, even out of the womb. So, because his parents were actors, so if you ever wonder how they get babies on television, they ask expecting actresses like, hey, and so then he's been in the world acting his whole life, and so he was very, very open-minded to being a ridiculous like spoof of himself, and he just happens to look so much like the anime character that he's playing in the first scene that we were, and if you can guess all of the roles that he's spoofing in there, he plays all those roles or has played them in the past. So for satire reasons, trademark reasons, we can't mention them all, but it's a comedy, so we're covered by it.
If you ended up making a sequel, who do you think would
A sequel.
best place? This truly deserves a sequel.
We had him and Amanda run off into the sunset and have little 10 years later or 15 years later, have little teenagers that are really dedicated to their craft too. Or they could be like, oh gosh, mom and dad, like, come on.
I mean, you could do a whole series.
We could.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question.
It'd be some tough casting, though.
It would be some tough casting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we've got a lot of, working creatives on our cast and crew. Does anybody have any advice for people who are interested in going into entertainment? Any words of advice? It's not an easy road.
Don't do it. I think volunteering to do people's projects is important. Colleagues and sometimes people you don't know. Helping out students if you're an actor, but if you're a beginning actor, you should, when someone asks you to do something, do it unless you absolutely can't. Or it's weird stuff, that you just don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah, you can say no if it's...
Oh, yeah. And don't be afraid to say no either. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's, you got to learn your craft. And it doesn't matter if you're an actor. I've served on lots of crews. I've done craft service. I've done everything. Literally clean the toilets,
Yeah, you learn a lot doing that, too. All the other aspects of filmmaking. And there's a lot.
Yeah. And you'll learn more if you just are there. If you have a friend that's doing something, volunteer, It's like, hey, I'll come. I'll do this. I just did a movie in Louisville, and 10 members of the crew are in the movie. Just, they're not actors, but we just wanted them, and they said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. As extras or whatever. Yeah.
That's great. Can you tell us what it's called? You were filming in Louisville.
It's called Special Ops Rent-A-Cop.
Oh.
And, it's with Michael Jai White, Chuck Liddell's in it, I'm in it, Jim O'Hara from Parks and Rec is in it, Danielle Kennedy's in it, and then a bunch of local actors I didn't know then, but I know now. Yeah. So.
Very cool.
I played Michael Jai White's sidekick. It was ultra low. It was low budget, not ultra low budget, but it seemed ultra low budget.
Were you like filming in a mall or Where were you
Huh?
were you like filming in a mall, or what were you guys doing?
No,
Special ops rent-a-cop? What?
that's him, and I'm his sidekick. He's annoying.
Oh.
Yeah. So
You could never be annoying, Miley.
I'm always, my friend typecast me, and Mary Shears, my friend, said, I like to typecast people, and what you play is a lovable loser all the time. And I agree. At one point, I was playing a really annoying character. I was in the Mindy Project shooting on a fake airplane.
You're great at that.
Yeah, and I was shooting in an airplane, and Mindy Kaling is beside me, and then actually the writer of the episode actually was an extra. He sat beside me too because he wanted to, and so I'm in the middle, and I'm just chatty and annoying, and Law and Order comes on the plane, and I'm like, oh, what's this show? And I just kept asking her questions about it, like I'd never heard of it, and she would answer, and they just kind of let me go, right, doing weird stuff like that. And same thing happened in the last movie I just did. And anyway, at one point and she goes, do you want to trade seats? And I was like, oh no, I love the middle. And then so at one point it got to be so I was annoying myself. And so I turned to her and I was like, okay, this is me, Mindy, it's Miley, out of character. Am I really annoying you? Because I was really, really annoying. And she goes, oh my God, no, this is fun. Keep it up. Keep going. So I think it was like at least an hour of me just, besides the lines, just annoying the shit out of her. So,
That's fun.
yeah.
You were very method for that.
You know what? I guess I was. Except for I annoyed myself so much method-wise. I felt self-conscious, and I thought, she's going to hate me. I have 5 more days of shooting. 4 more days of shooting.
Yeah, now Miley, I see you a lot on camera lately. I saw you on, let's see, well, I was catching up on old episodes of Shameless. You were on that, but Not Dead Yet? Is that the name of the show? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, 2 seasons I was recurring on it, and I don't know why ABC didn't pick it up. They just canceled us basically, and it made no sense.
Yeah, I was enjoying it.
Yeah, and it was a legitimately good show. Like, I really enjoyed that show.
Everybody was good on it. There were no duds, and the scripts were hilarious, and it had a lot of heart. And Gina Rodriguez is funny and lovely and amazing. I don't know. I just, some executive must have just, felt like it was very female centered in a way.
Yeah, a lot of good, strong female leads. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, unfortunately, especially in times like these, it's just, somebody probably made a decision and it was done. I don't know.
And that's one of the hardest parts about living the working artist, filmmaking, actor life. Sometimes it's just completely out of your control and projects die on the vine or they're doing well and they still get pulled. So that can be pretty frustrating, which is why passion projects are nice, even though sometimes they can take a long time. You do have the control over them. You're like, I will get it done eventually, as God is my witness. So that's one reason I keep at it.
Another reason why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I know who has control of this thing.
And that
was fun for me.
And then you get the artistic freedom, right?
Yeah, you work with friends that you trust.
Yeah.
How about you, Erin? What do you got coming up or anything recently? I saw Storybots. Was that correct? It's doing pretty well, and
well, it goes along exactly with what Miley's saying. I think it's up for Saturday, 10 Emmys on Saturday, and they have not ordered more.
Yeah, so this is like a 10 Emmy nomination.
This is the 35th Emmy nomination for the show overall.
Oh my God!
Wow!
And
congrats!
Thank you. And I even got one, which was kind of nuts. Which I never.
Oh, yeah, nice. I know. I haven't talked to you in person. Congrats!
No, thank you. So it's weird that it's like insanely, celebrated amongst peers. But they have not ordered more. So sadly, I don't get to reprise that character. So just like you guys are talking about, I've been focusing on my own passion project, a live theater performance. It's a one-person show. I act out. It's a parody. I act out the entire Wizard of Oz by myself. No costumes, no props, no lighting, just me and 40 characters, 90 pages of dialogue.
Oh my gosh.
It's very much the original tip of the hat to the original film with some wackadoodle. Clearly, I do characters for a living, so it's kind of like my opus, something that's been in the brewing for many years. And I think our next scheduled performance is there's a theater festival in Portland in April, which I'll be doing a week of performances there, but it's called The Wonderful Woman of Oz. So,
when is it open, Erin? I want to bring my daughter.
Awesome. It's in Portland in April. There's a festival going
on.
Oh,
Portland. I missed
Portland.
that part.
Yeah. And I think Indianapolis in the fall, but I'm not sure.
What, Indianapolis? Then, Michelle and I, if it happens, you got to let us know. We'll come.
Oh, yeah.
I was just in Indianapolis yesterday, even though it's like a 3-hour drive. So, yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, it would be so lovely to see some familiar faces.
Oh, yeah. We'll come to that. We'll bring it.
What I've been working on. And it's in between, because we're on strike for video games. So
it's been a pretty dramatic year for all that, too.
Yeah. And Storybot's wrapping up, kind of a thing. And, it's that wild period that you have as an actor from I don't know what's going to happen next. And because I have no control over, like, what is it Jennifer Hale always says? She always says that acting is the only job where you wait for permission to go to work. And so I don't like waiting for permission. So creating my own something that will keep all of my chops up, something that would, and I haven't done live theater, once I got onto the acting behind the mic train, I kind of stuck there other than this project for like a good 20 years. So getting back on the boards was kind of like an amazing experience because I'm a very physical actor anyway. I'm Alexander technique as opposed to magic.
Oh God, you're one of those, Erin.
I'm one of those. I'm so one of those. So that's what I've been doing, and of course I get to go to conventions too. So that's been fun. Yeah.
So let me ask you, when you're saying you're doing like most of the parts, I did watch a video recently and it was pretty funny where the guy was talking about how watching The Wizard of Oz with older kids hits differently because like, in Munchkin Land, there's like a coroner and he's got his own song, which means then like,
all of that.
Yeah, he's got to explain what a coroner is, and that means that there's that many murders in Munchkin Land that there's a coroner, and he gets his own song.
The white woman murder spree that Dorothy's on.
Yeah.
No joke. It's definitely, I love the younger generation, and they have brought a lot more funny to the show because their perspective, I'm like, I'm going to have to put that in the show. That's a good point.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm sorry I haven't seen that, Erin.
It's all good. I don't do it often. It's been a marathon to get me into the ability. It's a marathon to run the show. So I don't do it often in Los Angeles. I think I've only done it like 3 times in Los Angeles, and then now we're just trying to tour it. But I know I appreciate you.
I think I've been out of town, and I just want to add that one of the things that helped me in my career was I did a one-woman Sound of Music.
Oh, wow. That's ambitious, too.
I would love to.
I don't have it recorded. Mary Elizabeth and her now ex-husband, Darren, they were like, we will put it up. You could do it in our backyard, in the gazebo. We will pay for a theater. You have to do it. You have to do it. And it took so much work and energy, but I did it in Chicago. I did it here in LA. I did it in Minneapolis where I lived for a long time. And it was about, I loved hearing the 90 pages because mine was about 90 minutes. So I don't know, how many pages it was because it's probably about
a page a minute.
Yeah. About. So,
that's a long play to do solo. My gosh.
I'd love to see that.
Mine might have been a little short. Maybe mine was 70.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, but I did it in Chicago 2 different runs, and it was great. And I did it in Minneapolis, and then I would bring it back, and sometimes we'd sell out, so I'd have to do 2 a night.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I could do 2 in one night. I don't think, you know what, I
don't think I
Not
could.
an energy.
I think mine was 70. I don't think it was 90, which is a big difference. And I'm not a singer, so the singing wasn't good. It was just fun.
Oh, no.
That's still a lot of singing, whether you're good or not.
Yeah.
Those are some really hard songs too.
Yeah.
Climb Every Mountain. My gosh.
I could sing this much.
Julie Andrews songs. Like, oh my god.
Oh, she was supposed to come one night in Minneapolis.
Oh.
But she was it was like waiting for government. The reservation box office got a call from the Hilton Hotel asking if they could save 2 front seat tickets for my show.
Wow.
And so I think I didn't try and contact her, I don't think at all. She just read about it. So we waited and waited and waited and waited. And there's one guy finally shows up, and there's the empty seat beside him. And so it was her. It was for her. And he brought her assistant sent me a note, and it was like, I'd love to meet you. I'm so sorry. This show has taken it out of me. She was previewing Victor Victoria, which was 4 hours long because I saw it. She invited me backstage, but it was so long. It took so long to get back there that we didn't connect. But then I did it in Chicago after that. And this isn't about the movie. I'm sorry. I'll stop. But anyway, her whole crew came to see it because I did it on off nights in Chicago. So the crew from Victor Victoria came to see me in this 99-seat theater. Do the one.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Cool.
Oh, and the guy that came was her. He won a lot of Tonys for. He was the set director, Robert, whatever. Anyway, but he was like, "Oh, Julie would have loved this. I see these all the time," and I drag her to them. And he goes, "This is the funniest one I've seen," whatever. So, and I met her years later, briefly, but I didn't mention it.
Like, by the way, I do a one-woman Sound of Music.
Yeah, remember that seat you saved?
Yeah. Good morning, Julie.
Ricky, how about you? What do you got going on these days in the creative project mode?
Creative, not so much. I'm on a we'll call it a sabbatical, a long sabbatical. I'm working on construction. That's my job now, is I work in construction, and we build lots of buildings all over the place. LA and West Region and Hawaii and Arizona, Utah. So I'm doing that, but I still have the creative itch. I just have to push it away from me for a little while longer.
I was saying, that sounds kind of creative, though. So Ricky was both sides of the camera when we first met. Do you ever do any production stuff with your day job? Like, do you have to do videos and stuff?
Yeah, I have done stuff like that for our plant, safety videos, corporate stuff, talking head stuff. Just fun, and that kind of keeps me kind of in the creative mode, so to speak, especially with the lighting and the camera stuff, which I always enjoy. And I can't remember who's the guy that helped light when we were in the studio there shooting with
Spencer, and was Rob on site too? He might have been there doing sound stuff.
Rob might have been there with sound. Spencer was definitely doing the lighting though.
Yeah, Spencer was there, and then I loved helping him. I did a little gaffing for him, and that was fun.
Nice.
So try to stay active with that when I can. But as far as big creative projects of my own, no, nothing at the moment.
I feel ya. If I weren't doing my smaller passion projects, the majority of my paid gigs now are corporate, or I do documentary too. So scripted, I'm trying to get back into a little bit more. And, you go into seasons of life. How old's your kiddo now?
Oh, yeah.
Is your kiddo like
he's
10, 13? Oh my gosh. So yeah. Sometimes when you got the little ones, you got to do more of the corporate stuff for a while. And then
he's a club soccer kid now, so that's a lot of our money.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And travel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're going to Arizona this weekend coming up. So.
Oh wow. Wow. See, it's like you're for real.
I try to discourage my kid from enjoying anything, so I don't.
It's cheaper that way for sure.
And how old's your little girl now? She's getting older too. 10. Oh my gosh. That is hard to believe.
Yeah, guys, I was real cute. young, and then I had a kid.
So cute. So cute stuff.
So
That's
cute.
And Trisha, what are you doing these days?
I had to get a job that gave me consistent money to pay for my child.
Yep.
So I'm doing that. But I'm doing enough to keep up my SAG-AFTRA membership. So
Well, that's good.
I'll do extra work and I get called for voiceover every once in a while, and staying behind the camera as much as I can.
There's not a lot out there, you guys.
There's just not a lot. Absolutely.
I have not had a single on-camera audition this year.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty unusual that I wouldn't even have one.
Yeah.
Got one commercial back in November that I thought was going to be a Super Bowl spot on camera, and but it wasn't. So now I'm like, maybe it's going to be on the Oscars. It kind of would fit.
Yeah. I would have rather seen your commercial than some other ones, but
oh, those, yeah. I was in Orlando watching it alone at a stupid golf resort.
Oh.
I was like, wow, this is a horrible way to watch the Super Bowl. But anyway, but yeah, so I have to kind of rewatch some of them because it was kind of loud in the bar with all these golfers. Oh my God, they're so obnoxious. But anyway, but it's not a lot. So,
I almost want to ask how you ended up in a golf resort, Miley. That seems so out of.
I was going to I went to MegaCon.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
They got it at this golf resort, and it was one of the groups there was the South Florida Golf Association.
I'm just picturing you with those hats with the ball and like the vest and like
the whole getup.
I mean, that kind of sounds like a funny movie premise alone. Like you've got a con going on there along with the golf con.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like there weren't con goers that stayed there, which is good. Sometimes you want a little distance after a full day of working at one. But Mel Gibson was there. Donald Glover. God, I don't know. All these sci-fi casts that and then the golfers who are kind of like awful, racist, misogynist pigs.
Golfers.
That was fun to watch the Super Bowl halftime with those guys.
Oh yeah.
It was like a little. There's a special hour and a half of hell, 2 hours, 4 hours of hell there. But the convention was awesome, and the people were awesome.
That's good.
How about the two shall meet?
How about you, Lindsay? Are you working on anything exciting lately? Because you've gone more into video editing, like that's your primary thing now, right?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Invincible season 3 airing now on Amazon.
Wow.
I think, second episode of season 3 is tomorrow.
Really?
Congrats. That's awesome.
You're an editor on it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I'll make a note to see that.
Okay, yeah, it's violent.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, I really like that. Brian made me.
I like Invincible.
Just gonna warn you, it's violent.
Yeah, I watched the first season and then I ended up working on seasons 2 and 3. It's nice to work on something you like, but yeah, it's violent.
I love the Lioness, and that's pretty violent.
Yeah, Invincible's fun. It's superheroes, flawed superheroes.
They were at the convention probably with me.
Probably, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, probably. I think I did hear about them going to a convention recently, so yeah.
Well, every actor in LA was there because nobody's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is there a reason that it's so slow right now? Is it because of the fires, or is it just...
The fires delayed things, but it's just been in decline. Runaway production, mostly. Georgia's busy. Atlanta's busy. They're doing a lot of stuff in Louisville. A lot of movies in Louisville right now. And a lot in Canada. But, I don't know what's going to... And I think because of the election, people didn't know what was going to happen. And they just set in motion some stuff to take effect this year about getting more production back. Mm-hmm. So
Because I did know,
mean,
I have noticed a lot of stuff says made in Georgia, at least on when you stream it nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
these
Yeah.
2 kids I was on the plane with, they're real young. They're on some hit show. Oh, the Cobra Kai show, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they bought a house in Georgia. So, I mean, it's like crazy. Like, I know a bunch of actors who moved there.
Yeah, their tax rebates are way
Yeah.
better than ours.
Mhm.
I will say, though, shooting in Louisville, it's hard because the people aren't as experienced necessarily. And, like, it's just hard to get stuff. If you break a lens or have a weird thing you got to get, it's going to set you back.
Oh,
yeah, like it's harder to find than it's not like driving to Burbank and picking it up.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, pick up a lens or get this weird costume or,
Yeah.
just have somebody sub in last minute because somebody got COVID. Like, it's just, everything is more difficult. And the weather sucked the whole time. So we did a lot of night shoots, stuff like that. But the people of Louisville were awesome. It's just, but at the end of the day, it's easier to shoot here. So I hope, I hope that turns around this year, but we'll see. It's been declining for years.
Do you think
Georgia's good.
Do you think they're going to make it a little bit more easier to film in LA? It's weird in that it's like everything's accessible
Right.
there, but then like the red tape and permitting. I just remember that it was actually cheaper for me to have bail money for our camera woman, i.e. Michelle, than actually getting permits in LA. I'm like, I will bail you out if we get arrested.
I mean, that's a big proposal that they brought. And some of that, Erin would talk about it. She does way more video games than I. I mostly just do Naruto games and scream the same thing over and over again. But,
Believe it!
Hey!
Date Deo!
More like
Solid IP, solid game.
But like that's a thing about the video games too, right? That's one of the issues, isn't it, Erin?
Yeah.
That's one of many more complicated issues.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I know. Stephanie Shea was with me. And Yuri Lowenthal and Tara. We didn't hang
Oh,
out.
that
much.
is a good
Busy.
crew to be around. Yeah, Yuri sends his regards, but he's like in the air right now, going somewhere else. So.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. And Stephanie is in Taiwan. Her grandmother died.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was not completely unexpected, but she had to go directly from Orlando to Taiwan.
Ooh, that's a flight.
long flight.
You think?
That is a flight. So here, I've got a question. You guys do stage, you do on camera, you do voice. Do you guys have a preference of what you prefer? Like voice versus on camera versus stage, or are they each a little different? Round robin, let's start with Ricky. Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
You're muted.
I can't hear him.
Here, can I unmute you? Let's see here. Oh, no, you've muted yourself. There we go.
It was hiding from me. No, saying I like being behind the camera these
Yeah.
days. I like pretending and doing stuff like that when I get a chance. Being in front of the camera doesn't work so good for me anymore.
Prefer behind the camera?
Straight in front of the camera, it is what it is. But I do enjoy. I get a lot of fulfillment out of working behind the lens these days when I get the opportunity.
How about you, Trisha? You like on camera, off camera, stage? You did stand up for a minute too, I think, right?
Yeah, I think each have their own awesome qualities about them. Like stage is always my first love, just because you get like that immediate feedback and you get the energy of the crowd and all of that. I think between on camera and voice, I'd rather voice. And what was the other one you said? Oh, stand up. That's at night.
It's at night. That's true.
Like if it was at 12 in the afternoon, I'd be great.
I feel you. I was like, why did I start this at 8 p.m. now? What was I thinking?
Oh, it's fine for me.
Yeah, you guys are at 6 now.
So you're thinking most people here on the
It's a school night for me.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, because you guys are only at 6 p.m. So how about you, Erin? Do you have a preference? It sounds like you've been doing mostly voice until your one-woman show. But
I did theater for years, and then I did on camera. I didn't enjoy it on camera because of the reduced performance. And I blame David Duchovny for the whisper acting thing, because I booked the X-Files one, and my scene was with him, and I'm standing right across from him, and I couldn't hear him because he was whispering for the mic. And I thought that would be annoying if I had to be in bigger scenes, because can't hear what he's saying. And so I'm very ADHD, so I'm very cartoony naturally. So when I ended up in cartoons, it was a perfect fit for me, because I was more of a sketch comedy theater comedian type of person anyway. Miley's career is spectacular, and her funny on camera is unmatched. But I never booked those were the kind of stuff I wanted those kind of gigs. But I was always sent for the rotten girl next door, boring girl roles, and I'm like, I don't like these boring girl roles. So cartoons gave me all of my characters had a place to be.
Yes.
And what I love about cartoons before 2020 was that we could all be in the room together acting off of each other. I'm an actor. I need other actors to do what I do well. Like, I find that my best performances are when I get to hear the person I'm talking to, and I get to react based on what they're feeling and how they're feeling about me, and then that charges my characters as to how they're going to react. So I really was heartbreaking when things started separating into individual records for cartoons after 2020. I mean, even recently I went in for an animated series, but we didn't record as a group.
Right.
Like, what's the fun in that?
and so we're talking original animation. They're doing it that way now.
Western
Wow.
animation. So
Wow.
I like the pre-lay animation. So you get to look at a storyboard, you get to work with actors, and if you improv something, it could end up in the cartoon. There was a lot of stuff working with Yuri over the years where we would come, like, he's like my brother from another mother, so we would improv stuff together. They would not only put it in cartoons, they'd write future episodes off of stuff that we create. Like, I love that kind of, I guess it's the theater girl in me. I like when the writers are inspired, the animators, we're all feeding off of each other. I love that theater group feeling. I like creating with a group of people. I don't like being isolated to just me being an actor by myself, and I'm just.
Well, you shouldn't have written a one-woman Wizard of Oz.
To be fair, my characters act off each other. Definitely, I do not get to have control over what stuff comes out of my face that I'm like, I cracked myself up. So that's actually working out really well for me.
Yeah, right.
I just found it difficult when, like, doing ADR when you're in the room by yourself and you're not able to bounce off exactly what you were talking about. Like, you don't have that immediate reaction, you don't have that rapport, you don't hear anything back after you deliver your line. And I always found that difficult. It was when I did it the first time, I was like, man, this is really hard to do, and to be genuine and come across the way you want to come across.
Yeah.
So, fun fact about all of that, I saw Jim Davis is from Muncie, Indiana originally, and obviously he created Garfield. And that was one of the reasons when they did the Garfield cartoons, the animated series, they had everybody in the same room, and that had not been done prior to that. And so I think I just loved hearing him talk about that, and how he worked with that process with the voice actors and bringing his characters to life. So
his studio is wild too. Does he still have it in Muncie?
He sold like the stuff that he had, like his original house and all that stuff. So
he had because we actually toured it on our my environmental science class my freshman year at Ball State, because it was like it was 100% green building, and we're talking like 1999. It was the first place I ever saw like an herb wall. So like he had like indoor plants that circulated everything. It was very unique for especially Indiana at the time. Miley, how about you? Do you have a preference on camera, voiceover, stage? Everything's a little different.
You know, I've been doing less and less stage only because I've been doing more and more conventions. I've been doing more conventions because I've been doing less TV work. So, you know, it's funny, like, as I've done a lot of stage, but as I got older, the pressure of it does definitely hit you a little differently. Like, you know, unless it's something you really, really know deep well inside of you. And most of the stuff I do is comedy. So, but, I mean, you know, you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. and hollow yourself over to a lot and, you know, get makeup for an hour and a half and then sit and wait for 7 hours and maybe not work and then work, you know, and memorize your lines. And on sitcoms, they send you revisions like nightly and even on set. I don't mind the ones on set. I love those because they say it and then I'm like, what is it? Then they say it again and I can do it. Or maybe they might have to repeat themselves. But, you know, when you have big roles on sitcoms, it's you gotta be on your toes. I love voiceover because obviously you don't have to get up too early and you don't have to put on makeup or, you know, you don't have to sit around. You're pretty much there. Like I never really sit around for that, except for the beginning of the pandemic. I did a couple Loud House episodes where they tried to do it as a group. Oh, what a nightmare. Like it was a nightmare. I've guest starred on it a few times and you would just sit and wait. And, you know, they have real kids on the show too.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, where's Tommy? You know, you'd hear the dad like yelling out for him and you'd hear the dogs. And, you know, it was kind of crazy town. So that kind of went away where if you still do it on Zoom, you will do it individually. I like it. I like the group thing the best, the original series that I've done. I love doing sitcoms. Dramas are usually long and boring. Shameless wasn't. It was very fast. But also, I mean, you don't get a lot of help there. So you're kind of like, oh my God, I have to memorize this. And John Wells doesn't allow scripts on set. So, you know, of course, everyone sneaks them in their pockets. Yeah.
Wow. Are people like writing it on their hands or on their sleeves like it's a test?
You know, I finally I got a desk on the show where they shot some of it, so I'd slip it in there. But,
oh, yeah,
you know,
you did have a desk, didn't you?
Huh?
You did have a desk.
Yeah. I did have a desk. I also had a desk on Not Dead Yet. But, you know, when you're talking to these sitcom actors that are like at the top of their game and they've been doing it solid for like 10 or 12 years, they're really good at memorizing. And when you get really old like me, like it does become a little bit harder. And when you're not like a series regular, I was, you know, I had a lot of episodes. So I felt more and more comfortable, which makes it a lot easier. But so I don't have a preference. I guess, I don't know. It depends. You know, the ADR thing, which of course is why I saw you guys the most, is interesting. I mean, it moves fast, so they get more bang for their buck. That's for sure.
Oh, yes. So that's literally how they schedule it.
You don't memorize anything. You don't memorize.
No.
So that's good.
I was always so impressed with you guys walking in. So the way it works with especially animation, when it's anime and they're dubbing it, is like a lot of it's just cold reading. And that's
all of it.
It's just like wild.
Yeah.
Like they just walk in and do it. And so usually I would notice that usually the best people with the lip flaps are naturally like musicians or dancers just because of the rhythm. But it's just wild.
Maybe a better actor because you have to get right to those emotions right away.
Yeah, and anime has got some pretty big, like, you know.
Yeah.
And
it's all big motion. It's all Aaron.
Well, I feel like dubbing for anime, I think you have to be a good improv artist to do dubbing. Yeah. I think it is about making those fast choices and making them, committing to them immediately. and just going all out kind of with it. And a great director makes it so much easier.
Oh,
The
yes.
process so much better. And so like a director is, it really frustrates me for a period of time when they were trying to remove voice directors.
Oh my God.
Because first of all, engineering is a hard enough job on its own.
Yeah.
I do not want to engineer myself. I am not an engineer. I can't make myself sound the way professional engineers make me sound.
Right.
And engineering is a tough enough job to have to engineer and direct sounds ridiculous. So a voice director on their own is so important. And that job, I feel, has been undervalued in the last decade, even more so than it ever was. And it is the most important job because that's the bridge that we have. We don't hold the whole IP in our brains. We're not even given a script most of the time. So we depend 1,000% on that voice director to dial us in quickly to exactly what we're feeling in that moment. And they may not use the actual story of the script. They might go off book and use something that's really specific to dial us in as actors emotionally. A really good voice director just gets us to where we need to be as actors. And that's like a huge deal. So I just want to shout out to voice directors because you're amazing.
I agree with you. And no offense to the engineers, but a lot of engineers aren't good directors. They don't understand how to communicate what they're trying to do.
Different skill set for sure.
It's usually a really different personality type too. I'm just thinking of the directors I know versus the engineers.
Yeah.
Lindsay, would you agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah, people who do post-production and engineers and editors like me, we like to stay in our nice little caves and our little hidey holes and not talk to anyone and press buttons.
But it's also like you're not going to draw an abstract reference or say, remember the time when you felt like you didn't belong when you moved to that new school or something, like they'll draw that out for you.
You have to put that into the scream.
Yeah, put it into this primal scream while you're, besting Goku.
Remembering getting eaten by rats. Right?
There was a video game called Last of Us, and I was part of the atmospheric, additional voices. That there were four women that were cast to play all of the female infected, the female clickers. Yeah, and just the first game, and the direction for that was genius because it wasn't just regular zombie sounds. They really went into the psychology of how the illness takes you over, but you still have you're completely intact as a person inside of this transforming monstrous body that also has this hunger. And getting to play like all these different female characters, including children, in that state of mind, like the direction. There's a reason that game won all of the sound awards, like the atmosphere, and that was just for atmospheric clickers, right? Like the intention and the direction. I mean, the level of detail one can go into with any art form if you want to. I mean, obviously budget helped, but that was a spectacular experience in terms of it not just being like people putting the love into every single level of detail of character, whether they're a named character or a tiny character that's crying in the corner singing to itself.
Yeah.
That makes that series so much creepier now that I know that about their undead.
For real. And I think your next script should be a method child being eaten by a rat.
I can play.
I don't know.
I can play that.
Maybe you don't want your kid around. I have no idea. When the teenage years hit, you just throw one to the walls.
Just make it a tween, a tween snack.
Come with me to work today.
Yeah, I can method that, guys. I can method that.
A tween snack. Okay, well, let's see. Do we have any questions from the audience? We're getting at the hour mark here, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I'm thanking everyone for being here. Thank you. Yeah, Cameron?
Yes. So when it came to the recording of this entire project, how long did that take? Like, was it, I would assume, multiple days? Was it a single day?
We did it in 2.5 days.
Yeah.
So it was pretty quick.
Yeah. I think we only had the studio for a day. So anything in the studio was in one day.
Yeah. The studio, all the stuff in the studio was one day, and they didn't know that we were like trashing it in that one scene, so we had to make sure that it was like leave no trace camping. Yeah. And then we didn't have permits in Chinatown, so that was a very skeleton crew, and people are just like, who is this dude running around? LA has very strict like filming laws, but I did learn from some of our folks who worked on some big shows that involved people wearing bright karate uniforms, let's just say that if you didn't have the camera on a tripod, it wasn't considered a professional shoot, so then you could be okay with it. So that's the workaround with permits. So
Gotta stay handheld out there.
Yeah, so Ben would run around, and then we shot the rest at my apartment, and my apartment manager was like, what's going on? Why is this guy running through the apartment? And who are these guys fighting in the parking lot? I'm like, they're fine. They're just my friends. They're practicing something. It's just like, because that's a very short moment in the film, but, you know, fight scenes take a long time to film. You got to do them from, like, every angle. So that takes a lot of coordinating.
That's right.
And both Yuri and Ben are martial artists, so they knew what they were doing. So we had to like block it out and decide how we were gonna figure it out. And also you have to do it within the window of lighting. So that always makes for an extra challenge. But
yeah. You know, Yuri's had his arm in like this contraption for like months.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he had an operation and then they gave him 6 more. I mean, he's been in this contraption.
What did he, was it just an injury or just something, a condition?
He was having sex with Tara. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. And you know what's weird? He didn't tell me. Like, I think
it's so weird. It's so weird.
What did you do? But I don't know. Maybe he was doing all the goofy stuff Ben did in the movie.
He's secretly a method actor. He's getting ready.
He was just living it out.
Or he's getting ready for Spider-Man. He's secretly a method actor. Isn't he Spider-Man now? At least in the video games.
He is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is funny because isn't Ben still Venom? That's kind of funny that the two of them are on that show.
Oh, I didn't know Ben was on that show.
I think he is. I know he's played Venom in the past, but
He's played Venom in the past. I don't even know what the current Spider-Man shows are. There have been so many. I worked on one. It was like between a bunch of others. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of incarnations.
A lot of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I was going to mention, because we do have the film dedicated to Denny. So, Lindsay, do you want to tell everybody who Denny was?
Yeah, Denny was one of the co-owners of Studiopolis, which is the studio where Jesse and I used to work and where we've met all these lovely people. And he passed in, what was it, 2012, I think?
Yeah.
But he was a character.
He was a quirky man.
Yeah.
But he was like a unusual mentor for a lot of people.
Yeah, he's very much a mentor for a lot of people. An unusual mentor, but a mentor nonetheless. Certainly for me, he gave me a lot of opportunities.
Well, Jamie too. I mean, Jamie, who owns Studiopolis, where you shot the stuff, or I met you.
Yeah.
He was his mentor.
Yeah, he was literally, Jamie was like the janitor at their previous studio and like 17 or something. He's like, do you want to learn about production?
Yeah. You're not going to be a drummer all your life.
Yeah.
I think is what Jamie told me.
Yeah, it's literally what Denny told him. Here's a career. Thank you.
Denny definitely was really good at putting together like ragtag bands of misfits.
And he had an eye for people's unusual talents because, Lindsay, wasn't your background audio, but then he's the one that got you to do video, right?
Yeah, he came up to me. He's like, you're going to learn Final Cut. And I was like, okay.
I didn't know that.
And now that's what I do.
Yeah.
What?
And you were like, what, like 22 or something? He's like, here you go. This is a new career path.
Yeah, like 24 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, early 20s.
Which if you were to see Denny and a man of his generation, you might not assume this is how he would just be very open-minded to just whoever's in the studio. Not everybody was just like, here, 24-year-old girl, learn post-production.
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you. Because a lot of post-production, especially, production too, but a lot of post-production, I think even now still is kind of the apprenticeship. Like, you can go to school for it and everything, but I can't tell you how many PAs that did not last would come in and be like, but I've got a BA or from the Tisch School of Arts. I'm like, that's awesome. Here's a bagel. If you can toast it the way that producer likes it for maybe 6 months, then you can sit in and take notes. And then after that, maybe the engineer will start training you.
Maybe.
If you're lucky. And they'd be like, but I'm like, I hear you. I've got a degree in Japanese and TV production. I'm just telling you, this is the rules.
Yeah.
I didn't have any education. I went to MI for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. But you did the apprenticeship route, which is still at least 20 years ago. I don't know if it's still. That was gonna be one of my last questions. Have you guys seen many shifts since the pandemic? Has it changed some of that?
We don't see anybody.
I was just wondering if have things gone more remote?
Oh yeah, like I did a show for the last
I
couple
missed
of years
everything.
called Royal Crackers, and I went to Dave and Dave's to record. However, it's just me and the engineer and the directors, who's one of the creators, writers, and performers, which is another trend. It is on Zoom, so it's like you're still
The directors on Zoom? Really?
Yeah, the directors aren't there anymore. They don't show up anymore. All
I did.
They don't fly in anymore.
They're at home. All the directors are at home.
What?
This was a
ones who have to show up.
That is weird. Okay, I can see the argument then for getting rid of the directors. Wait, why aren't they in person anymore? This everybody moved away, or?
At first they couldn't, and it was like they'd have to air up the studio, like the protocols were strict. But like I did a whole show with Colette Sunderman, original animation, and she wasn't there. I would have known her. I didn't know this guy that directed me for 2 years until last year. They actually had a screening at this really cool old place on the east side of LA, old theater, and I was like, oh, I completely envisioned him to be different and older. I was like, he's really young and a lot shorter than I thought. And it was so weird because people are like, I'm so-and-so, and I see this producer sometimes on the Zoom, sometimes not, but the director I'd always see, but I'd see his dog. One time his girlfriend walked through,
That is so weird. It's like a weird form of online dating. Different. The only time that used to be like that was when we'd have to telecast. Lindsay, remember we'd have to telecast people in from Japan? What was that director that liked to wear the headbands?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't remember.
That was always really intense because we'd have the American director sitting in person, then the Japanese director or producer, and I have to try to interpret on the spot. It was just a whole wild scene. I can't imagine directing remotely. That is so that is a big difference then since the pandemic.
Well, I mean, they're still directing, but they're just not physically there. And it's a 50-50 shoot, whether sometimes I see them on camera, sometimes I don't.
Right.
It depends on, video games, but there's no camera for the video game stuff. It's just all remote. And just me, the engineer, which I don't mind because the turnover for video games is so high that, the chance of illness is high, right? Yeah. Because we're still living in a pandemic and people still go down, right? I've gone into studios where the entire staff has been out for COVID. So I appreciate that we're taking these precautions. I do, but I miss everyone. I've actually started doing cons again because I want to see my coworkers. I don't see them anymore, and I just want to see people. And I need to do conventions and see people again. I miss everybody.
I just was with someone I hadn't actually seen in 10 years.
Oh wow!
Because, I mean, whatever. It's just you just don't. Definitely since the beginning of the pandemic, we haven't seen each other at all, hardly, and that sucks. Exactly. And also, I love going in. I just like it. I don't want to be the engineer, like Aaron said. I don't care
Yeah,
about.
I miss going in for auditions. Remember when we got to do that? Go into
Yeah,
auditions
now you just
and
send
show
in.
what you can do, and now I have to depend on my agent to submit an audition, and I don't get to be directed. I don't get immediate direction. Like, what do you want? What are you looking for? Because I can give you a crapshoot of what I think you might want based on specs on a page, but that's not going to give. That's not enough layers for me. And an agent can't give you the direction because they don't know. I miss being in person because I would book 100% of the time when I would go in person because that was where I could really show off what I'm capable of.
So that must have really changed casting then. Like a lot of those jobs probably.
Well, that's why they just cast the people that they know, and
Yeah, that's the thing. They do that, and also it's weird because like this has only happened once, and I did book the job, and it was a pilot, but they said don't do it with. They said pick an accent or something. I don't know, but anyway, and they said we want you to do it with a Midwest accent instead. So I was like, oh, okay. So I had to resubmit, but there's not that interaction of, I could have done it right there if I was in the room. Like they could have said, switch it and make it Midwestern.
Exactly.
So in the
fast.
moment, instead of
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show how quick on your feet you are and where your skill level is that you can do it immediately.
And not only that, because so many of these roles, like we're all up for like this role. I'm up for like a main role or a recurring role, right? Or a bigger role. But they also need to know that you can do all the other little parts, like, which they're not going to audition you for, but they just pop up, right? Like playing a little teeny baby frog. Or,
all the incidentals, yeah.
So they don't know that if you just mail in your part for, the main character or something like that.
So that's
I don't know.
That's a big change.
It's a big change. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
So do we have any questions from the audience before we close up?
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm glad you guys are here.
Thanks for coming.
Please share the link. Please let people know. I'd love for this little film to go viral in the best way so people know all the quirky things that these folks can do on camera and the voices.
We'll actually be seeing Ben at a anime convention in May. Biggest one in Illinois.
Okay.
Anime Central. I will be asking him about this.
He's going to be like, oh my gosh.
It will go viral.
Cool. Thanks, Zach.
Appreciate it. Any other questions?
Overall, extremely educational. I really got a lot out of this.
Good. I am
More
glad.
educational than any content.